old. Huh? Het was luchtgeblaas.
That was quite interesting. I think definitely a nightmare for anyone that has a thing about aging, for sure.
Yeah, you kind of, when you're young, you don't really think about it. When you get older, you start thinking about getting old.
Yes.
And some of us think about it more than others. Most people should know who M. Night Shyamalan is. He's a writer-director, and he made a big splash with The Sixth Sense, his first movie.
That's right.
Very good movie.
Probably his best.
Yeah. And he followed it up with movies like Signs, which was...
Brilliant.
Well, Sixth Sense was a kind of a ghost, paranormal type movie.
Yes.
Signs was an alien invasion movie.
It's probably one of the best alien invasion movies ever for me.
It was very, very good.
Brilliant. Joaquin Phoenix in that, and Mel Gibson. Brilliant.
Yeah. And then he did Unbreakable,
Yes.
which touched on like sort of real life comic book heroes and villains, which was completely unexpected. I knew nothing when I watched it, and it was just such a cool surprise when that came out.
It was a cool character for Samuel Jackson also.
Yeah.
Something different.
Completely.
Yeah.
So to me, those are my three favorite
Yes.
Shyamalan movies. Then he did stuff like The Last Airbender, The Happening. What was the other one that was terrible? Well, I found it terrible. It's probably not that terrible if you like that kind of movie. The Will Smith and Jaden Smith After Earth.
Oh, did he do that one? Okay, yeah, I didn't enjoy that one. I must say, Sixth Sense, Signs, and Village.
The Village was
The Village was brilliant. It's one of my favorites of his.
And he's Wayward Pines, the TV series that...
That's right. Hit and miss.
Started off nice and then just sort of...
Fizzled.
Fizzled, yes. And then he also did some Blumhouse movies.
That's right.
The Visit and Split.
The Visit was the grandparents,
Yeah.
right? Yes.
And it was kind of like a found footage type movie,
It
wasn't
was creepy. It was
the
creepy.
kids videotaping it. So
Yeah.
it was an interesting departure for him. And the movie Split,
Brilliant.
that also ended up, the guy with split personalities, and very cool how they brought the Split, Unbreakable together in the movie Glass.
That's right. Yes.
That's an interesting trilogy. But now I thought Old was going to be, I was expecting the Blumhouse logo before Old started, but it looks like he's not doing that with them anymore. Hopefully something will come up down the line. But yeah, Old is about this beach where people grow old rapidly.
This is part of a resort, and it is like a very secluded area that not many people know of, and it's difficult to get access to. Won't say too much about that. And then they find themselves on this beach, and everything goes fine. The kids find some old stuff from other people that were there in the sand. And there's a body that shows up.
Yeah, that's when things now really kick off.
That's right.
Something's not right. And not going into how it happens, but they cannot leave this area.
No.
And they eventually now start figuring out that people are growing older, especially because there are young kids on the beach as well, and that is the blatant sign that something is really wrong.
Something is wrong, yes.
And we definitely cannot get into the whys and the reasons and the hows.
No, you don't want to give that away.
Because some things aren't really explained either, unless, sometimes, like I said with Fear Street, where, there's a book that kind of explains stuff. There's a little bit of that here, which is like, But the main characters, it's a father, mother, his daughter and a son.
And daughter, yes. There's an interesting dynamic between the people that end up on the beach together. There's
it's a very different
group of people.
Varied group of people.
That's right. And one of these people, she's like a beautiful girl, but you can see she's the type that everything is just about the appearance. And a heart surgeon, a psychologist, maleness.
A rapper who was there from the previous time.
Who was gorgeous.
The previous night. Yeah, and it's conflicts and people trying to figure things out. And everyone has an issue of some sort.
And it actually becomes claustrophobic quite quickly. It was amazing how quickly I thought it was going to take a little bit longer to progress, but it was just sort of when the body shows up, it just from there on, it is a very claustrophobic feeling.
There are some instances which we definitely don't want to give away, but like far out.
But you say
incidents with the kids.
That's right.
That's quite intense. And
it's very intense.
And just a rapid acceleration of stuff that just is uncontrollable, and these people need to try and figure it out, and they just cannot.
Yes. And you say it's based on a graphic novel.
It's based on a graphic novel, Sandcastle, and it actually very much feels like a Shyamalan script.
It did.
It has that. That's obviously why he did it, because it's something that resonated
strangeness,
with
it. Yes.
And a very interesting outcome. I'm in two minds if I'm happy with the result on the why and the how, but leave that up to people to decide for themselves.
It was quite clever. I was happy about the ending.
Okay.
Yes.
I am the fury fire.
This is one of the few movies that we've had the chance recently to go watch in cinema. Also just proof on how the new digital age is not as great as you think it might be, because the day before the screening, but before it started here in South Africa, I went to the press screening, but then there was an issue with the digital DCP loading, so it didn't happen. It had to get loaded and I couldn't wait for it. So if it was still reels, they just put the reel on there. But
then I wouldn't have gone to see it in the theatre.
Yeah, because you couldn't go for the early morning show on Thursday.
I had to wait for the weekend.
So we popped in the weekend to one of our favourite cinema in Cape Town, the Levy Theatre, where we also run the Horrorfest every year.
The most beautiful old independent theatre in the country.
It's got its shortcomings. It's not as plush and luxurious as the mall cinemas, but that's what makes it cool. It's got more character.
What you lose on that end, you gain with so many other things.
It's got character, and it's not so crowded and
it's got soul.
You're not in a mall for starters.
No.
For the last 17 years, we've been running the South African Horrorfest Film Festival there.
And if you don't know that,
how many times do we have to say it? And the Celluloid Film Festival, which is science fiction and fantasy and animation.
And there's one coming up.
Yeah, and the X-Fest, Extreme Film Festival, which we haven't done in a while, but it's difficult to do that. Sound on Screen, Music Film Festival, we've done the Daring documentary, and any kind of cool movie stuff we always do it at the Levy Theatre, because it's the best choice and the only choice for us.
Yep. But let's get back to the movie.
Let's get back to the movie.
Segue.
Yes, as we do.
The actors were, for me, I was unknown apart from
Gael García Bernal.
Yes.
But it was just, for me, it didn't work. He's like a kind of a Cuban guy, and the woman who plays his wife, Vicky Krieps. I think she's from, she's European, German, and it's just these accents. He's got sort of Latin accent. She's like a German French accent.
I
and
kind
the American
of enjoyed
kids,
that again.
I don't know, but it just, I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah.
It just felt like especially the actress, it's not like she can act as well in her second language, if you know what I mean.
I enjoyed her. I thought she was very authentic because she came across as, not that I'm saying anything about German people, but they are a little bit more reserved.
Yeah.
And I think she pulled it off beautifully. And I liked the fact that it was a diverse group of people.
Yeah.
There was like literally like everyone was almost represented there, which I enjoyed. I think that's the way forward.
Asian, black, all across.
Yes. I enjoyed Rufus Sewell. He played the role of the doctor on the beach, and I think he did a really good job. Although I'm not crazy about him as an actor normally.
For the most part, when I see he's in the movie, I then get excited for some weird reason.
Some indifference, but I think for
He's
this movie...
He's been in some good movies.
Oh, absolutely. And I think for this movie it worked. It worked because at one moment you're almost unsure of what you think is happening. I'm not going to give it away. But you for one moment think it's just a tactic that he uses to calm people down, but then... You know what I mean?
That's the thing. It's such the people they are so diverse and they all react differently to this situation that they simply cannot explain. And
I think it's a good representation of reality because I don't think people on an island stuck on a little beach like that are going to behave any differently.
It's not like a Survivor TV show.
No. Yeah. All in all, it was incredibly interesting. I didn't love it.
I expected to enjoy it more than I did.
Yes, I think going into it with not a great amount of expectation is probably the right thing to do. It is a movie that you just need to sit back and go on the trip, and it's interesting.
It's different. I mean, there hasn't been anything like that. So
yes,
we cannot have the same old slasher thing all over again.
No.
And it's not exactly a horror movie.
No.
It's a horrible situation.
It is a horrible situation.
But
yes.
It's
especially if you have a calcium deficiency.
Yes, you'll see the calcium deficiency in there.
That was quite horror.
Yeah. There's some, like I say, there's quite a few horrific things. It's stuff that happens. It's not mild in the least.
No.
Score-wise, I think it's an easy 6 for me.
It's a solid 6 for me.
Okay. I would have liked to give it more. If it ended more surprisingly than it did, I would have said, yeah, okay, I'll throw a 7 at there. But it's not a terrible ending. It is what it is.
But I think you can say that about the whole film.
Yeah.
It's a situation. People deal with it in a certain way. And the outcome is the outcome.
There was something about it that just felt a little bit like this Blumhouse Fantasy Island.
I think
reboot.
it was maybe a little bit more sophisticated than that. But yes, you are right. There is like a tinge.
An element.
There is an element.
This something that is creating something to try and be vague about it.
Yes.
Which is not exactly a good thing because I didn't think Fantasy Island was so great, which we'll also be reviewing.
But you mustn't compare the two.
No, not at all.
They are two very different films. Let's be clear about that.
If I had to now pick between Fantasy Island and Old, I think I'd prefer Old.
The Old is in a much different league. It's a much more intelligent movie.
I'd say Old is, if you had to split it, Fantasy Island would be more for teenage movie fans, and Old would be an older crowd. An older view.
You don't want to put off people that's seen Fantasy Island. It's not the same film. It's just, I hear what you're saying. There's like a little...
Just forget I said it.
No, it is an observation you can mention.
Just wipe it from your memory banks. Okay, so it's an average 6 for Old. I wanted it to be better than it was, especially because Shyamalan's such a talented filmmaker.
But it's like you say, he started off so strong.
And when you come out with these 3 kick-ass movies, it's to top that.
Yes, it's hard because they still stand to this day. I mean, I think if you see Sixth Sense for the first time, it's an amazing film.
Yeah. I'm sure most, like we've mentioned in other reviews, we kind of, give away some stuff, but it's a movie that everyone should see, and if you haven't seen it, watch Sixth Sense.
And watch Old. Go see it at the cinema. I think it's better on a big screen anyways, because you've got this beautiful beach setting. And I think it does make a difference seeing it on a big screen for me.
And if you've been dying to get back into the cinema with lockdowns and pandemics and stuff, be safe about it and
definitely
enjoy it.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we'll see you at the next one. Please subscribe and like and comment. Same old story. Cheers.